Welcome to the RVA Returners Podcast, your number one source for all things Final Fantasy TCG, sponsored by Ultimate Guard. Yeah, dude, it's been miserable. I left work, and when I got home, I had almost 102 degree fever, and I've been sitting at like 100 pretty much all weekend. I should probably go to a doctor.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah.
Yeah. But you know, Adam, I don't know much. I'm not a smart man. I'm not one to practice medicine. But I am here for the next episode of the RVA Returners Podcast. Guys and gals, we are back. I'm your host, Chris Adams. With me as always, Adam Lane. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, and I apologize if I sound gargly and gross. Excuse me, there it is. But like I said, I'm a bit under the weather, but you know what? I do this for you guys. I'm not going to miss podcast gold for nothing, especially this week. Adam, there's been a lot happening this week.
Yeah, we got a lot of spoilers. Like, spoilers are kicking in. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
Oh, dude, spoilers are running fierce. We we got our first ban. You know, it's a lot happened. Not our first ban. Our first ban since them making the announcement that more bannings would most likely be coming. And then we got to talk about a big event that happened and something that we're really proud to talk about. But you know what? Adam, there's one place you can find all this information. And I'm not going to beat around the bush. You know where it's at. I know where it's at. And we're going to tell everybody else where it's at. It's the news. All right. So first piece of news this week. Earlier in the week, like I mentioned before, we saw our first banning leading into Opus 9. You know, this is the first banning we've had since Gesper and Thaumaturge back at the beginning of Opus 7, I believe.
Yeah, like right before Worlds was when they made that ban.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, right before Worlds. It was still legal to play at Worlds, if I'm not mistaken.
It was, yeah. They didn't ban until like the week after.
That's right. Well, the next victim on the ban list was Dodaluma. And that's one that, you know, we had mentioned in the past. I have kind of mixed emotions on the ban. Adam, tell me what you think.
It wasn't one that I named when we went over in our cast. And I think that's just because there have become more ways to deal with the card, and I think other cards facilitate him. But, I mean, I'm not surprised by it. Like, it's not a card that should surprise anyone that's getting banned. I just don't think, if their goal is to shake things up, I don't think this is going to shake things up that much, you know?
No, I agree with that 100%. Do I think it's a card that maybe like 3 or 4 months ago maybe needed to be looked at? Sure. But like you just said, it hasn't been this dominant force, this big knuckle dragger that it has been for the last few sets. Just because, you know, the deck he's primarily in is Earthwind. Obviously, the Cactuar interaction is the big one. But it's definitely not the core of that deck anymore. So to me, while I think the banning is fine, I like any kind of shakeup they can make. I think is better than nothing. But to me, this banning feels like it's something that was talked about like 3 months ago, or even 4 months ago, and then they just finally got the green light to do it, or it was like an email that got lost somewhere or something that it's like, oh yeah, we forgot to do this months ago. Let's just do it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that too, like, could have something to do with the new set, like designing the new set, and maybe there's some stuff that they already had on the back burner, and they realized that Dodaluma is going to become even more of a problem. That's super possible.
And I'm fine with that kind of forward thinking.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of feels bad when your opponent does get set up, and there's not much you can do about Dodaluma plus Cactuar. I mean, there are forwards that naturally do good, but there are some decks that literally, like, as soon as 2 Cactuars are set up, they can't do too much. Yep. But the thing is, like, there's so many other oppressive things in that deck that, like, I don't know, to me, the Dodaluma plus Cactuar has almost become, like, a secondary thing. I mean, sure, it can become a win condition, but, like, I'd rather deal with that than, like, Cecils and Noctises and like the Sybil with, like, just searching your deck constantly for any card that you want. So I think, like, Earthwind isn't going to be some dead deck. Like, I think they just replace Dodaluma and possibly replace the Cactuars. Cactuar still works okay with Noctis, but like it's definitely not the same. Like Dotaluma's just this free thing every turn. The Cactuar plus Noctis requires a little bit more setup. It's really good when it goes off though, but he can still do that with Cecil. So I think the deck just replaces them and maybe changes their monster package up a bit, and it's still fine.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's going to remain to be seen because there are some some possible new toys for that deck coming down the home stretch in the new set. So we'll see. Only time can tell. And I think one of the biggest issues I had with it was I don't think it should have been the only one. Now, granted, I don't know the method to the madness here, so I'm going to reserve like any like harsh judgments because we all think and we hear other people saying it. There's a one card that's a legit problem, and that's not even on the table right now. So like I said, I think it's fine. I want to see more. I want to see more cards maybe kind of start coming and going as the game increases in size, so we can get just kind of fresh decks coming, rotating in and coming back out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's also possible this isn't the only ban before Opus 9 comes out. It's possible they're doing it like waves and they just want to do one at a time. So
yeah, no, absolutely. But like I said, love it or you hate it, it's happening, and the ban takes effect. I want to say July 19th.
Yeah, like literally when Opus 9 drops, pretty much. As soon as Opus 9 is legal. I think Daluma actually might even be banned the week before because I think Opus 9 drops and then it takes a week before Opus 9 is legal at like official tournaments, but I think Daluma's banned right there. So I think there's going to be a week of LQs where Daluma's banned, but you can't play Opus 9.
Interesting. Yeah. That's very interesting. Well, we'll see how people adapt, and we'll see how like the diehard Earthwind players kind of change and evolve around that. But Adam, we talked a lot about Opus 9, and boy howdy, we have seen a lot more spoilers this week. Card of the week is finally back, which was nice. And that's where we'll start. We got a lot to go through, so we'll start with the card of the week. We got to see our third legend of the set.
Yeah, it's a Wind legend. He's a 9CP 10K EX burst. It's Yazmat. He's like the boss monster of 12. If you're familiar with that, he's like not the boss monster, but he's like the special boss, kind of like Ozma. What Ozma is for 9.
Yeah.
So when he enters the field or at the beginning of your main one, you can select one of 3. Choose a forward, cost 5 or more break. Choose a monster break, or activate all characters you control.
Now, read that again, because I believe it says when it enters the field and at the beginning of your main phase 1.
Yep, yeah, it's on ETB and at the beginning of main phase 1. So both. Yeah.
I think the card's fine. I think it's a lot of redundant effects that Wind already has. The fact that it gets to choose one of those each turn is fine, but there's a good chance it's not going to make it out past its first turn. It's probably going to get Diabolos right to hell. I think it's good. I just don't know where it goes. The EX burst is nice, and obviously I love it for title because it is 12, and one of the biggest issues 12 has is like 9 monsters like Melt Gemini. I think this definitely helps. The only problem is it isn't a job Sky Pirate, which hurts. But I think it's a fine card. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's really good in title, honestly. It gives them answers to things, and it's a little bit harder to kill there.
Yep.
It still answers in title, but there's less answers, and they're more specific because you know what you're facing and you know what options they have. But yeah, exactly. The likeliness of this lasting a turn is pretty unlikely. You can set up some pretty cool things if your opponent does let you untap because you can stack to it. Sometimes I think if you just play it and break a 5-drop, that's okay. But you're still spending 9. I think the issue is there are cards that do all these things that are more efficient than a 9 cost. When I first saw this card, I was like, "Whoa, that's nuts!" The more I've thought about it, it's kind of like average. I think I don't think it's bad. Obviously,
it's fine. It's fine.
Like obviously, if this guy comes down and hangs around, you can do some pretty nutty stuff. Obviously, you can set up some pretty stupid combos, but then you're requiring him to live. And then you're gonna have to start getting to this area where you're making protection and you're going down the rabbit hole, like almost like you're playing like a Sin special deck at that point, basically, where you're trying to protect one thing, which can be really hard to do, especially when that thing costs 9. So
and the question is there enough to build around to make this thing worth protecting like that?
Yeah, you could play him as a cute one of, and if he lives, you can do some pretty dirty things. You can try to build around him and with some pretty cool combos. Like my thought is Wind Fire with like War Mech. Like if you can get multiple untaps on a War Mech, I feel like you can do some pretty gross stuff. But that requires you to untap with a 9 CP. So I just at like we're talking like high level tournaments. I don't see that happening very often. And then again, like I said, you're gonna have to start running protection for him at that point. So you're running a 9 CP and then you have to run protection for a 9 CP. So I like him. I like him and I want to try him, but I think he's pretty average.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at for sure. Like you said, great in title. I absolutely love him in title.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's more specific there, for sure.
Oh, for sure. And then the next crop of spoilers we got here, actually, the what's it called? Like the trading card game magazine, the one that comes out in Japan.
Yeah, I think it's actually like a Hobby Japan magazine. It's called Card Gamer,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got some more spoilers there. Well, thanks to to Bond, Bond's Final Fantasy Corner. He shared the text of the cards. We don't know what they look like, but we've got the text of what, 6 of these?
Yeah, 6 cards.
Yeah, Adam, let's just get right into it. Let's just rattle them down.
So the first is Larketius. He's a Earth Forward, 5,000 power, 3 CP category, Crystal Chronicles. When he enters the field, you choose a monster in your break zone, you add it to your hand. And then for double Earth Duel, search for a monster, add it to your hand.
I know when this card was first spoiled, people were like, "Oh, is this the reason Dadaluma's banned?" I don't think so, but I do think this card has some neat utility. Probably really cool in like a like if you're going back to like a Earth Water Monsters build, this card could be really good in that. But otherwise, I'm not sure. Like this is one of those cards that I would like to see like some new monsters come up or just really start playing around with some things. I think it's good, but I just don't know where it goes.
Yeah, I think this card's actually really dope. I think it naturally fits in Earthwind, especially since Dadaluma's gone. Because I think you can kind of fan out what monsters you want to run now. Like you could probably run like one Cactuar, Layak, a Luminous Puma, and maybe like tech something else in. And then you can use this guy to search it out. He's a Phoenix target, so he can pitch for Phoenix, play this or back on the field, and essentially discount Phoenix a little bit by grabbing a monster back. I mean, he can do some tricky things, and then again, I think Water Earth monsters. It's always been kind of a fringy deck, in my opinion, but he's really good in there. I think actually with Ozma, he can do some pretty gross stuff. Like you can like Ozma special, then drop this, then get your Ozma back, and set up another special, like later down. Or if they manage to kill your Ozma, you just drop another one. So I think he's pretty sweet there. I mean, he's a general searcher for monsters, and he's not dark, so.
Which is really nice.
Yeah. So, and I mean, he's in the right color for it, too. Or Earth or Water is kind of where you want to be when you're doing things like this.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's like Gal 2.0, but I feel like what he does is just, like, I don't know. I feel like his ETB is better than Gal's, but he doesn't get, like, the back-end payoff that Gal gets. You know what I mean?
Yes and no, right? Because Gal kind of costs 3 in a sense, but this guy kind of costs 1 in a sense, I guess, if you want to compare it that way. But, yeah, I mean... I think they're good for different reasons, and obviously they could be in the same deck. Like that's not super far fetched by any means.
Absolutely. So I can't wait to see what comes up with him because I think monsters could be primed for a for being in a good spot. You never know.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. It'll be something I mess with too. Like a lot of these cards I've seen, I actually have a lot of interest in messing with for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think every spoiler so far has actually been really really solid. So, all right, so what's next?
Next is a new Odin. It's a common lightning summon, 3CP EX, category Dissidia, Final Fantasy. Choose a forward, cost 2 or less, break it, draw a card.
I mean, that's not terrible, but again, I'm not sure where it goes. The break a 2 CP draw card is fine. Again, when you start talking about monsters, like the ones that can become forwards, like Green Dragon stuff like that, but you really don't see those. Man, this card would be an A+ if it said 3 CP, but
even if it costs, even if it costs 4 and said 3 CP, I think it would be super good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty okay. I think it's really going to depend on, what kind of 2 CP forwards we start seeing. I mean, obviously there are some ones that are really obnoxious right now, like Paul and Sid Reigns, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I think the best.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the best target for this is Knight, right? Like kill a Knight draw card.
Absolutely.
Seems pretty solid. But is it worth a slot in your Lightning deck? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's just
Yeah,
too
no, I agree with that.
specific. Like you're not hitting a lot of things, and sometimes this is just dead, and you don't even get to draw a card. And when it hits
Mhm.
off burst, you have to hope that they have a 2 CP. So it's just I don't know. I think it's too limited. I think if it did say 3, it would be really really good, even if it costed one more. So
No, I agree with that.
yeah,
All right,
next
which one is next?
yeah Nexus Edge. He's a heroic. Wind forward 3 CP 7K job ninja category 4 and Lords of Verminion.
Mhm.
So the art should actually be pretty sweet, even though we haven't seen it.
Nice.
He has back attack. You can only pay CP produced by wind backups to play Edge, so you have to have 4 wind backups to play him. It says from your hand, so you can do like the generic like devout stuff. Like you can do it with Estinian, I guess, if you really want to go that route.
Right.
When he enters the field, select one of the following 2 actions: choose a forward, deal it 4,000. Choose a category 4 forward other than Edge. It gains 4,000 power until end of turn. And my bad. I think I said he's a 4 drop. He's a 3 CP 7K.
I think the card's okay. I think he could be like a really fun like one of in Moto win. Like the back attack is pretty legit. Being able to like play that off of a like you Diabolo something during combat, back attack that guy in and like block something with it. You could do some really neat tricky stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, back attack and wind is probably one of the better places to be, especially if you're
No, I agree with that 100%.
if you're gonna fall into that like this category of only being able to tap backups to do it. Like wind's the best at doing that. It's less it's less telegraphed, right? I could have one backup open, and then I can pitch 2 Diabolos, break something, activate, then play Edge.
Yeah.
So it's you can do things like that. I think he's kind of medium though. I'm not sure. Like the 4K is okay, and then in order to get out his second ability, you have to be playing some Cat 4 stuff, and I haven't seen enough to really think that that's that great yet. But that could change.
No, the only other like Cat 4 card I could possibly see you playing again in Mono Wind is the starter Cecil.
Yeah, sure. But does he need
but
4,000 power?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At that point, he probably doesn't. So, like, I think he's fine. I think he's fine. I think he's a good like one of just to like. He's a card that I think people are gonna just like fool around with, like in the utility slot. And he's either gonna be really good or he's just gonna be like, nah, I'd rather just have something else.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to see much play, at least right now. If I see some 4 cards, that'll change my mind, maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think he's only as strong as the category that we see.
Yeah, and then he's terrible in title, so.
Yeah. He's not even on the radar for title
because of the restriction, honestly, more than anything.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. All right, so who's next?
Next is Geese. He's a 4 CP 8K water forward, category 12, and Mobius. When he enters the field, all forwards opponents control lose 1,000 power until end of turn. When he receives damage, you can remove him from the game. If you do, put him on the field dull and remove the top 3 cards of your deck from the game.
I like this card a lot. Now, it's all going to hinge on this. Have they clarified whether lethal damage is part of that? Like, can he block, die, you can bring him back, and then give another -1,000?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't be able to do that.
Because I know there was a point in contention, people talking about lethal damage. I mean, I think it should fly because
I mean, lethal damage is damage. If I damage Dottaluma, he still puts 4K somewhere, right? So
exactly.
I mean,
yeah, but overall, I think the card's really solid.
Yeah, I think he's pretty solid. I think he's nuts in standard, or not standard, in limited. I think he's nuts.
Oh yeah.
And he's only a rare.
An on curve recurable threat. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's really good there. In standard, I think he's solid. I don't know. Like, there's so many things that do this. Like, he's not taking Nickel's spot. Cognazo is better, even though you can't like do the recursion piece to that. I feel like water decks aren't really running Beatrix unless you're going like Heavy Knight, and this is more similar to Beatrix than anything, except he costs 1 more and he's recurable. So I'm not sure where he sees play, but I do think he's solid. Solid enough to try, for sure.
Well, what I'm hoping for is that this is maybe like a cycle, and all the judges do something like this in this set, where they all have like an ETB, and you can remove them if they die or take damage or something. They can come back. I think that'd be really sick.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm interested to see. I think there's so many other powerful water cards that I just don't know if you cut those water cards to play this, and I'm not really sure if the neg 1K is going to combo with other water X decks. enough to cut cards to play this. I think that's just where I'm at. I think he's solid, but
yeah, and I agree. I agree with all those points. I like the fact that it is a recurable threat that it's hard to get rid of outside of just like a straight break effect.
yeah, like I don't think this card's better than Freya, and Freya's seeing French play now too, right? And like outside of the 9 deck, obviously in the 9 deck she's there, but like you're not seeing everybody play Freya in mono water, and I think Freya's better than this. So
yeah, no, that makes sense.
Next up is Gijuk. He's a fire forward 2 CP. I can call you anything. He's a 2 CP fire forward 5k job headhunter, which seems to be a theme in this, which is going to be kind of like Bagamon's like gang.
Yep.
So when he enters the field, if you control 4 or more job headhunter forwards, deal 5,000 to all forwards opponent controls. That's it. Cat 12.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see more of this headhunter thing. I really hope it's like just kind of like a really janky tribal deck that I'll be calling the Yellow Jacket Boys. It's my doo-wop group.
Yeah, I mean, this ability is good if you can get it off, and there's another card we'll talk about that combos pretty well with it, and he's also a headhunter. But, like, I mean, 4 is a lot. It's not like we're seeing people do that with the 7 deck, right? Like, they're not really, like, running to play the Earth Cloud to try to do this, and this is kind of a similar thing. And I feel like this is a 2 CP 5k, Cloud's is bigger and harder to deal with, and they're still removing stuff. And you don't necessarily have to remove this guy. I think if you could consistently do it, somehow, it'll be really good. I don't see it happening, though. I think it just requires too much.
Same.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that 100%. It's probably just going to be some janky casual deck that, but who knows? If that becomes like an actual like thing, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
Anything Cat 12, I'm okay with.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be cool. They would need some backups on theme too. That would help them.
Oh, for sure.
But I just don't know if that's gonna happen or not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, and then the last of the magazine ones is Uke. It's a Ice 3 CP 7k forward job standard unit category Crystal Chronicles. I think I read this somewhere that if he's blocked or is blocked, you discard a card. But the bans thing I think only says if he's blocked.
Okay.
So I'm not sure on the translation here. But that is a big difference.
Oh, yeah, big time. Big time. So I mean, I'm totally okay with putting a pin in this one until we get like the official translation, because I think one is clearly better than the other, right?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I think he's still pretty solid. Maybe like some like ice earth carbuncle thing can make him like a big threat, assuming that he has the is block thing too.
Sure.
So I mean, I'm interested to see. I mean, maybe you could do some janky stuff to force people to block, but then you're looking at like fire, ice, I guess, with like sync or something. But yeah, I don't know. I think if it's both, I think he's really good. If it's just this, I think he's like pretty below average and like just like kind of decent. Again, probably a good limited card also. So
yeah,
and he's a standard unit, so you can have multiples of these out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's absolutely fine. All right, so that was all the ones from the magazine, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the next two are from the European. I think they were like having a thing over there, and they revealed 2. So the first one's a fat chocobo. Obviously it's a job chocobo, 4 CP backup, category Crystal Hunt. It's the first time we've seen that.
Oh yeah.
When it enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Put all card named chocobo among them into your hand, and return the others to the bottom of your deck in any order.
I mean, it's not terrible. One, because Chocobo Knight can actually search a backup now,
and play it. It could also play it. Well, you could always search the backup, but now he can actually play the backup for free.
Yep,
that's the big thing, because he could already search the other fat chocobo.
He could always search job chocobo or name, right? Yeah.
But now he can play this because his play is 4 or less.
Yep. And then you go into a potential draw because I mean when you look at your average chocobo deck, Adam, how many cards are named chocobo?
It really depends on the build you're running. Like if you're playing mono in, like what I played at the local qualifier, you're probably looking at like 12 or something, somewhere around there, because your chocobo knights are not included in here. They don't count for this guy.
Just named chocobo.
So really the main ones you're looking at are the haste chocobo, the big boy 7k, and then the other haste 4K with that party attacks. Those are the big ones. If you want to go all in, you could play the one that plays stuff for free.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess at that point you're looking at 12. The big issue, like, man, if this guy's name wasn't Fat Chocobo, it'd be an auto include, like no brainer auto include. I think the name is what makes it hard to choose. I think in order for this to consistently hit for a card, you need to play at least probably 12 Chocobos, which isn't hard to do. But then you're giving up other slots to do that. Because right now, the way I see it is that your core it's your Chocobo Knight, your Big Boy, and your Hasty. You're the one that grants haste. And really that's just like a package of 9. I guess you could play both Fat Chocobos to make this hit easier, but I don't know if you really want to do that, because then you're going to have to be picky about which one you play.
Yeah.
So it's kind of tough. I don't know which one is going to be better. The other one provides a lot of stuff too. The other one plays directly to the field and gives you that buff every turn if you need it.
Yep. Well, I guess maybe it'll depend on, maybe we see some more like name Chocobo that actually, but even still, like the pump and the play directly to field on the old Fat Chocobo is still really, really good and really hard to overlook.
Yeah, I mean, in a dedicated Chocobo deck, I mean, it's really, really good.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I think if you're like all in on Chocobos, like if you're just like, I'm playing almost all my forwards are Chocobos, this is better probably. Just because it's going
to draw you cards, like 3 or 4 cards every time.
Yeah. It just sucks that you're losing that buff to your Chocobos when you do that.
Yeah.
So at that point, really, you're relying on Maria and Arc to get you home.
Yeah.
So
nope,
I do think it's good, and it really makes people think when they're building their deck which one they want to go with. But I really give the favorite to the 5 CP right now.
Yeah, I agree. And look, that's all we're looking for, man. We're looking for cards that'll shake up the status quo.
Yep. And then the second spoiler was pretty sweet. It's the first time we've ever seen anything like this. This is basically the equivalent, I guess, of a dual land in Final Fantasy. So it's a class 9th Moogle. It's a 2 CP ice backup. When it's on the field, it can produce wind. And it's a job Moogle.
I think that's really, really sick. Yeah. That is really, really sick. I think the job is relevant. Now, granted, in a Moogle deck, you're going to be to the point where all of your Moogles are producing whatever color you want anyway. But like, I hope that we get like a cycle of these, because I would love to see a fire card that does Earth CP or something like that. Like we could even get 2 cycles of friend colors and enemy colors, essentially. You know what I mean? I think it's really great design, and I can't wait to see more of that. I think the card's really good.
Yeah, I do think they might have to be a little bit careful at first of what elements they give access to this to. I think Wind Ice never really had trouble with their dual elements, like producing what they needed to produce. So I don't think this really just slaps into Nate Perez's deck. It might. I mean, it might just be that good to where you're just fine doing it. It is a job Moogle, but like they have other color fixing and other Moogle backups that are better than this, and I don't think they really care that this can produce both those colors. Maybe if you're trying to do some janky thing with like Fire Ice Moogles, but you want to run some Wind cards, that could be okay. I don't know if that's worth it though. Like you're playing like Sarah with like Mont Blanc and Hurdy and this, I guess. But again, I don't know if that's good.
It'll let you run Diabolos, baby.
Yeah, I guess you could play Diabolos and Fire Ice if you really wanted to do that.
Well, then you get into like Dark Fina territory at that point too.
Yeah, I guess that's true. If you're already running Dark Fina, you have an alternate way to cast it. I mean, you had people this weekend at the Ice Crystal Cup running Zodiark and Fire Ice. So, or not Zodiark, Zeromus. Apologies, not Zodiark, Zeromus. But like I think he's pretty decent, and I'm interested to see what other colors they give access to this. Because like I said, if there's like a Fire Ice one, or like an Earth Wind one, I guess, but they don't really need it. Earth Wind doesn't really need it. I don't even think they would run it.
No.
But really, I think Fire Ice would probably stand to benefit the most, like if they had something that produced both. But they have to be careful about that, because then that makes people less likely to play Mono Fire. Because really, everybody's just splashing Fire now, and if you get a backup that's like Fire X, they're just going to play less Fire cards, No,
it's the plight of the element, unfortunately.
Yeah, so. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, and I'm sure we'll see more.
Yeah, I hope we do. Now the next 3 we've got came from the Ice Crystal Cup that was up in Toronto. That happened today and yesterday. So let's start with the first one, Adam. I know I had a hard time seeing it because it was kind of blurry. At least to me, it was.
Hmm.
But it looks like a drowned ass Muppet. That's all I know.
It's a Renock, so it's another headhunter. It's another one like Begamon's voice. He's a 2
Uh-huh.
CP, 5k Earth forward, and then he has the ability 1 Earth, choose a job headhunter. During this turn, the next damage it deals to a forward would double it instead, and you can only use it once per turn. So I mean, essentially, he's used with the other guy to become a board wipe.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
yeah, you play this guy first, or you could easily play him in the same turn. That's 5 CP, right? So you play Earth guy, then Fire guy, then on the stack of the Fire guy, you pay 1 Earth, and you deal 10k to their board.
Yeah, I mean, could be okay.
But you also have to have 2 other headhunters out at the same time before you do that. That's the problem.
Right, and you'd feel bad if they like stack a Valafor Diabolos to that. You're just like, well, fuck
Yeah,
me, right?
yeah, double Valafor, yeah, GG, pretty much.
Yep, that's a wrap.
So, I mean, it's an interesting combo, but they're going to need more support. Like, if they're able to consistently pull this off, it's probably really good. That actually definitely is really good if they're able to consistently pull it off. I just don't see
absolutely.
it. I think it's too. I think it's asking for too much, especially since I imagine you're probably only going to get like 4 or 5 headhunters at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
they're
I also feel like 6 of your summons in that deck are going to be named Phoenix.
yeah, more than likely the small Phoenix. Yeah.
Mm.
Even then, I mean, it just seems like you're asking to get blown up. I think it's going to be hard to set up, but I mean, cool. It could be a cool casual deck for sure.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, these last 2 are actually pretty dope. They happened during top 4 and finals.
Yeah, so it's a new Elias, who's a 1 CP fire summon, EX burst, category Mobius. Choose a forward until end of turn he gains 1,000 power and first strike, draw a card. If you have received 4 points of damage or more, it also gains haste until end of turn.
I was really upset when this card didn't say 12 next to Mobius. I was a little upset about that, but I think the card's fine. Um, I don't know where I'm at on it. I love old Belias so much, and it still kind of does the same. Now the 1 CP discount is pretty huge for the first strike and draw card,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if you look to replace the other one, or I mean I could easily see them working together in a deck,
It's
but
it's
I don't.
tough. Yeah, I think that this one's obviously more efficient, right? I mean, you're paying 1 less CP, you don't get the haste. So I think it's better in decks where you're not really trying to go like super aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Like the haste is relevant later in the game, which is fine. Haste is really scary late in the game.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a 1 CP discount. You're netting 1 CP no matter what. I mean, unless they make the summon fizzle, like you're netting a CP because you're drawing a card for 1 CP. Yep. But you're also granting yourself a combat trick and first strike, which I think is a lot of the blowout potential from Belias doesn't come from the haste, right? Comes from the first strike and the 1,000 power, which this card still has, and you still have the potential upside for haste later in the game when it matters the most, I think. Sure, you can't play lock early and then haste him and swing, but I think Sage is probably better at doing that anyways because you're getting a backup down. So I think I like this one more, just because I feel like it goes in more and it still does everything you kind of want. It's just, I mean, obviously, if you're playing like some balls to the walls, play forwards and swing deck, you want the other one because you don't want to be at 4 points of damage. So,
no, but those are all very valid points, and I definitely see where in some instances the 1 CP is better than the 2, but then you can also see in some 2 CP is just better than.
Yeah, I mean, the only time the 2 CP is better than the 1 is between points 1 and 4, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so.
Pretty much. But I don't know. I think now when you see somebody playing Fire X and they've got 1 CP open, now you've got to wonder, are they holding that Belias?
Yep, that's true.
So there's a good chance in the Fire Ice decks, since you're not really looking to play that Belias on lock to haste him out, really. Like it happens, but it's still a lot more situational that I wouldn't be surprised if the 1 CP replaces the 2 CP. And here we go, shaking things up again. Like, how many times have we mentioned that like Belias is one of the best fire cards, and now it seems like it's getting kind of pushed aside for this new one.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe if you're going like super hasty or something, you can run both. I don't know. I don't think you do though. I really don't.
No. I think as much as it pains me to say, because Elias has just been like that neighbor that's just been good. We've had so many cookouts and hung out so many times, and they up and move away. And now you've got a new neighbor coming in who's almost exactly like them, but you're always going to give them the side eye because it's not them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That was a long-winded analogy to say that I like it, but I'm mad that I like it.
Yeah. And then the last spoiler is an ice heroic. It's Squall. He's a Category 8, obviously 4 CP AK job seat candidate. Cost required to play Squall into the field is reduced by 1 for each Category 8 forward you control. It can't become 0. When he enters the field or attacks, choose one character your opponent controls, double it.
I think that's really good. I like the potential to play him at a discount. Potentially playing a 1 or 2 or even 3 CP8K is really, really nice. Obviously, works well in conjunction with the new Quistis that we saw, a couple weeks ago. I think the card's good. And the constant, the fact that it does something every turn is always nice as well. So I think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, he does something on entry, he does something every turn he lives, basically, as long as you're attacking. And then you can get that all at a discount on an on-curve body with a relevant job and category.
Yeah.
And he's searchable. Seems pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what category at 8. Obviously, he's nuts in title, right?
He's insane in title. He's a 1 CP8K in title.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see the more of the 8 cards like Quistis and stuff, and maybe the old Renoa comes back in that deck.
Yeah, that's very possible.
And that could be pretty cool. Maybe it's like Fire Ice. I'm not sure what it's going to look like. But this guy has a lot of upside, and I think he's really good.
No, I agree. There's a lot going down. Opus 9 is looking to be really, really solid. And oh, shit, excuse me. I can't wait to see what the next couple weeks hold as we start seeing more spoilers and more cards of the week leading up to the pre-release. All right, so the last piece of news / main topic is obviously we want to talk about the Ice Crystal Cup in Tampa this weekend. Man, what an event, first of all. How many players were there? What, like 80?
Yeah, I think I heard 70. So probably
70?
somewhere between 70 and 80.
Okay. So, decent sized turnout. I know they had an initial cap of 64, and then later they released the cap, and then it looks like they maybe sold another 10, 15 tickets after that. It looked like it was a really, really solid event. A lot of big names in attendance. Jordan Dank, Jonathan Gordon, Matt Okamoto, Greg Cole, Brian Berkeley, Colin Coughlin, Lord Byron, Sam Toole, you name it. The list goes on and on. And it was a really, really solid weekend. Big shout outs to the Break Zone for providing coverage. It kind of sounded like they might have been, just because of the space of the store, they were limited on what they could and couldn't do. Because I know they had a rail cam and some things that they wanted to get set up to do some things, but it sounds like just because of the venue restraints, they weren't able to kind of unleash all their new gear that they got.
Yeah, I think they ran into some internet issues too, but that's it's fine.
Yeah, it seemed like it. But again, that's not their fault. But I think overall they did a solid production. I love the interviews between rounds. I think overall the stream quality was great. So, but the big thing here, I want to congratulate. I don't know why I can't speak. I'm just so stopped up. I want to congratulate Lord Byron Bylick. Not only did he win the event, my man is going to Worlds. He's the first Virginia player on any year go on the Worlds team. Dude, I'm so proud of what he's done. Like, I know, he was kind of brought up by Steven and Curtis. They kind of nurtured him, and I know Steven. He was kind of Steven's protege. They were playing the same deck for a while, and it's really paid off. And I know he's playing up there with Jimmy a lot, and the hard work is definitely paying off. And I don't want to stop there. Colin Coughlin finishing second. So Adam, we got to see an all Virginia final.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. Yeah.
How huge was that?
Yeah, I mean that's a big deal, at least for me. I'm pretty sure it's for all of us.
Huge deal.
It's like guys that we play with week in, week out. So we see them. We know how good they are right now. I feel like everybody else gets to see how good they are, so it feels really good. To train with those guys. So.
Absolutely. It takes me back to a conversation that you and I had, like a long time ago during last year's competitive season when Ron and Colin first started showing up. We were like, hey, these guys are really good. And, as we got to play with them and know them more, like we kind of noticed that Colin plays very similar to your style, where Ron and I are very much on the same level as far as play styles go. So like being able to see that and kind of nurture that and just seeing them, not, I don't want to take away from anybody else in our scene, like seeing our scene grow and seeing Colin get to this level, because I mean they've been on the grind this year. Him and Ron particularly. I'm surprised Ron didn't go to this one, but Colin I think has gone now to. He didn't go to Seattle, but he's gone to 2 out of 3. I think he's going to Kansas. I know he's going to Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he'll be at RVA. Like, those guys are grinding this season, and that was something we really wanted to see from them last season, from a lot of our Virginia scene. And now that they're doing it, it's really, really paying dividends. And, like, you said it best in our group chat that we're having, like, this proud dad moment. It's really cool. It's really cool to see just the scene that had to kind of be built from nothing. Well, all scenes are built from nothing, I guess. But I don't know. I'm just really proud, and I just it's really cool to see. It's just really cool to have that happen. And
Yeah,
I can't congratulate these guys enough.
yeah. I mean, congrats to Brian for sure. He played his ass off. Both of them did.
Oh yeah.
So it was a little sad to see Colin's deck kind of failed him a little bit, but I mean, Brian punished him. He put his foot on his throat, and that's what you do. I mean, you don't just like be like, oh, I'm sorry you didn't draw well, and then not play your Sephiroth,
Exactly.
But
I'm sorry, Mono Water didn't get to go to 5 backups.
yeah, I mean, I think he beat Colin to 5 backups both games, which is rough for Mono Water. But yeah, both of them played really, really well. When they come back home, I'm sure we'll keep congratulating them. I'm sure Colin's going to keep grinding. I doubt he's going to stop. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they got to get ready for Richmond. That's in what, a few weeks?
Yeah, not that far away. I think it's about a month from now.
And if he's going to Kansas, that's a couple weeks away.
Yeah, like 3 weeks. Yep. And I mean, yeah, Brian.
Yeah,
I was gonna say just Brian was like super modest dude. Like if you watch the interview before he even went to play his top 4 match, he was basically already saying like, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna win. Look at the caliber of player, and then he managed to get to the finals. And then I think at that point it probably hit him a little bit, especially when you're playing Colin, because at that point you're looking across the table and you're like, this is like playing in Virginia, Like that could be.
It's like you're playing in a Soldier Series or something.
Yeah, that could easily be the finals of a Virginia tournament. And so I'm sure there was a bit of comfort between both players, but I'm sure Colin wasn't having a great time not seeing some of the stuff he needed to see. But
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll get it next time. And like having Brian on the Worlds team is gonna be pretty sweet. I'm sure he'll be practicing and grinding out with all those guys still and trying to bring his best to Worlds. So.
Yep, absolutely. So Lord Byron joins Colin Rupert and Chris Neal on the North American Worlds team. But overall, I'm going to be gushing about these guys. Really bringing it home for the whole week, and I can't wait to see Colin on Tuesday, and I can't wait to see Lord Byron next time he comes down from Fredericksburg. But it looked like the event was kind of as we had talked about it last week. A lot of the same decks. There was a lot of mono water, a lot of wind earth, a lot of wind water, a lot of fire ice. I think the most unique deck in top 32 was this earth fire deck.
Is that the Warrior of Light, Warrior of Darkness one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably the most unique thing I had. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I looked at it and I'm just like, I mean, it's spicy, I guess. But I don't know where that person ended up falling as far as final placings go. But I would say it was a lot of usual suspects. I think we kind of called out all the decks that we were going to see, and that was pretty much what we saw in top 8. I mean, wind water, mono water, earth wind, and ice earth made up pretty much the whole top 8, I think. I'd have to go back and look. There might have been ice fire in there, but
I think there was a fire ice in there, but I don't remember.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty. Even then, that's still pretty usual suspects in my opinion. So
yeah, especially right now. And I mean, it was a really high caliber top 8. You had Matt Okamoto, Greg Cole, on Scions again, so Scions are still there.
I think we
who else did you have?
I think we specifically mentioned that when you asked me about Scions on the cast. I was like, yeah, Scions will be there if Greg Cole makes top 8.
Yeah, well, there. Speak of the devil, there it is.
Yeah, so it was Oki on Earth Ice. I mean, not Earth Ice. Oki was on Earth Wind. Greg Cole on Scions. Colin Coughlin on Mono Water. Brian Lord Byron on Ice Earth. Angel Moray was on Mono Water, I believe. Alan Shu was on Wind Water. Jordan Dank was on Wind Water. And who was the last person? Sam Toole, I think was also on Earth Wind. Yeah.
Nice. I wonder if it's the same deck that he played at the qualifier the week before.
I believe it was. When I saw him play on stream day one, it looked like there wasn't much different. But yeah, I mean, all solid players. I mean, I'm familiar with all the players. Some people might not be as familiar with Brian and Colin going in, but that ended up being the finals. I'm pretty sure.
Which I think is absolutely great, because that top 8 is fucking stacked.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that entire top 8, except for Colin and Brian, were qualified for Nats. So, yeah, I mean,
that should tell you something. Like, those guys played their asses off this weekend.
Yep.
I think one of the best matches of the weekend was Colin's match against Okamoto, whereas Colin was trying to throw that game away in some spot.
He punted game 2. And I'm going to high-five him when he gets there on Tuesday, but I'm going to give him shit, too. Game 2 he punted. He forgot about Cactuar pinging to reduce his Cloud of Darkness. He should have targeted Dottaluma instead. He targeted Cecil, which then caused it to basically do almost nothing. And then got punished the following turn because he left Cactuar Dottaluma up. And then that led to just some not good things, which swung the game in Okimoto's favor. And then in Game 3, Colin almost gave it away again. I mean, Colin was in control most of Game 3 also, but he Fanforded his own Veritas to get rid of... I don't even remember what the forward was at this point, but that allowed Okamoto to open up his backup line to get rid of his Mion. And then later on, he got another Mion back, which then allowed him to Mion his Shantoto, and then Shantoto again. Now, granted, this was like turns down the line, but it should have never happened because Colin should have been able to dictate. And then in that case, Colin could have easily got rid of the forward, been able to swing with the Veritas and pressured Oki because Oki was already on 4 at that point. But I mean, it's live and learn. It's a mistake that a lot of people would have made, I think, for sure. And he probably realizes that, to be honest. But he wanted to get the forward off, and he thought sacrificing his own Veritas to get a backup, put Oki back on 3 was the right call. And I think a lot of people probably would side with him, but hindsight, I think you definitely want to keep the pressure on Earthwind in that scenario, especially since they've already played their Shantoto. You don't want to give them a way to play a second one, especially since that deck only runs 1 now.
Exactly. Especially, you just nailed it right on the head. When you see Mion and Shantoto on the board, that's your green light to not let them get those cards off the table.
Yeah. So. Now, I mean, it looks on the paper, it looks like a more inefficient play because he's going to have to probably spend 2 to 3 cards instead of the 1 Fanfort to clear the forward. But he's able to develop more of a board, kill the forward without losing his Veritas, and put Oki to 5. That basically forces Oki's answers to be exactly Noctis to even, keep the game going. And even if Noctis hits down, if he just holds on to a Leviathan or anything, he just kills it straight up and then swings for game. So, I mean, but he got it. He got it anyways, so it doesn't matter. He still got through, and it was a good set. It was very back and forth. I just think the game 3 should have lasted probably about 15 minutes less than it did.
Oh, for sure.
Or should have lasted. I should say.
But overall, it looked like it was an absolute great event. Now, keep in mind, this is the last North American Crystal Cup that is all constructed all the way through. Now we're getting into draft territory, starting with Kansas in 2 weeks. So I can't wait to see what's next. And I'm just super, super proud of what the Virginia scene has done, especially this competitive season. And now to see, Lord Byron from Fredericksburg, a little man from Fredericksburg, Virginia, making the World's team.
Yeah, we misspelled his name one time, and it was that day, from that day on, it was history. Yeah,
that's all it took. So now that means, Adam, our Soldier Series final is going to have 2 Worlds qualified players, and at least 2.
Yep.
So that's going to shape up to be a great event too. Man, what a week! What a week! What an event! What a tournament! I'm still beside myself. I'm still like shaking with anticipation to give Colin just the biggest fucking hug when he gets home. The team did well, and again, big congratulations to Lord Byron for winning the whole thing. You've done everybody proud. You've done everybody proud, and I can't wait to see what you bring to the world's team. You're gonna bring a fresh set of eyes to the team, and I can't wait to see what you do.
I've always said like I love like he's a modest, honest dude, and I always love the mindset of like I'm never good enough. Like that's the mindset I like to have, man. Like people I'll tell people all the time I suck, right? And people will be like, "Oh no, you don't suck. You're good," and that's fine. That's great. That means you have good friends, right? But at the same time, like, in order to get better, like, you need to tell yourself, like, I suck and I need to fix these things. I need to do this better. Yep. And I think that's a mindset that's great to have. Like, if you constantly are never good enough, you're always going to strive to be better. So I think he's got that mindset, and it's going to help him a lot, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I can't wait to see what he does. But otherwise, Adam, any parting thoughts? Anything else we want to add?
No, I don't really have anything else. You should probably go see a doctor. That's my parting thoughts.
Yeah, that's what I should do. Yeah, I'm surprised I've hung in this long. Talking is hard. But otherwise, man, like I'm really excited as far as things coming up. We've got the Richmond Crystal Cup coming up in first weekend in July. As soon as we know about ticket information, we will definitely share that out. And hopefully we'll have that information this week. So, other than that, just be on the lookout for our next Soldier Series event. Otherwise, I got nothing, man. Just look out for Virginia in the future, man. We're coming.
Yeah. This weekend improved a lot.
Team's coming.
Yeah.
Like Booker T, man, we're coming for you.
I don't know if that was a direct quote, but we'll leave that in there.
It was close. It was close. But cool, man. Otherwise, I got nothing else. And guys, thanks for listening. As always. Signing off.
Yeah, thanks. See you later. See you later.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening once again to the RVA Returners podcast. If you like this content and you want to hear more, check us out on YouTube at RVA Returners, and make sure you follow us on SoundCloud and check us out on Google Play and iTunes.